Something that was helpful for me is when I realized that the nature of the job is not always to agree or fulfill every single request, but you're there to accelerate growth in a big way. So that means you're there to challenge the status quo, to be a little bit disruptive. So sometimes that means there may be friction. So just keep in mind, kind of have fun with that.
You are listening to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, the product marketing community that gives back. I'm your host, Louise Liu. Product Marketing Hive and this podcast are supported by Product Marketing Edge, a technology product marketing consulting firm. In this episode, Yolanda Thomas, a product marketing leader, shares her thoughts on how product marketers can elevate their career. Let's dive into it right now. Hi, Yolanda. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Louise. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your product marketing journey. What inspired you to pursue this career path?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a career product marketer and specialize in the B2B technology industry. I started my career at ADP, where I transitioned from field marketing to product marketing. And after that transition, I went to pragmatic foundations training. And from then, just grew to love the career and really have a passion for what product marketers do. After I left ADP, I went on to work at various technology companies of different sizes and stages, and even went to some companies that didn't even have product marketing and was able to establish their product marketing function. I was able to, apply my experience, build out the function, grow a team, and standardize procedures. And that was work I really enjoyed doing. I was inspired by the endless opportunities that product marketing has to impact an organization. You interact with so many different departments, product management, sales, marketing, and you're really in a good position to drive growth of a company. And the role is also fun for me because it contains a mix of what I enjoy doing. I like having my hands in lots of things, research, analysis, strategy, creative work, and all of that makes the job fulfilling.
Can you share a story of the most exciting product marketing initiative you've been involved in? What made it stand out for you?
Sure. Yeah, the most exciting product marketing initiative was when I led a team that delivered a first of its kind collaboration platform for the emergency management industry. It was a solution for emergency management professionals and first responders. It was a huge project that I led from end to end in terms of go to market and launch strategy. I was thrilled that the CEO entrusted me to get the job done, and it required me to really stretch my skills. And from defining what the product should look like all the way through to the launch at our annual conference, a ton of work got done in a short amount of time. And what made it stand out for me is that it was a very ambitious endeavor, and we delivered a solution that was very innovative. And for me personally, I was humbled by that experience because the work was very demanding. A lot of pressure was put on the team, and the level of dedication and quality of the work throughout the project was exceptional. So I was very proud of everyone and what we delivered.
That's great. Your product marketing journey is very inspiring. From your early career of product marketing manager to the director of product marketing and VP of product marketing, how have your roles and responsibilities evolved over the years?
Sure. Yeah, my responsibilities fluctuated over the years. And as you know, in product marketing, the definition varies across companies. And through my experiences working at companies in different industries, sizes, and stages, gave me exposure to almost every facet of product marketing. Earlier in my career, the focus areas were product launches, positioning and messaging, and sales enablement. Later I began leading go-to-market strategy and worked at companies that were heavy into market research, competitor research, and content strategy. So from each experience, I acquired new skills or was able to sharpen my skills in a certain area.
What do you think are the most important qualities or skills for someone aspiring to pursue a VP level position in product marketing?
Yeah, to advance to the VP level, it's important to develop your business acumen. You need to, raise your game from being focused on just products and truly understand business situations and have the ability to make sound decisions that drive growth. You want to become that problem solver that the leadership team didn't even know they needed. So you want to be able to, have a vision for what needs to be accomplished, be able to boil that vision down into a strategy, and then boil that strategy down into tactics that can be executed. Relationship building and collaboration that I think is crucial for product marketers. You rely on so many people to be successful in that role. And at the same time, you need to be able to collaborate with them to help them be more effective in their respective roles, like specifically sales and marketing and product management. So being able to maintain healthy relationships, to have that two-way dialogue and build trust and credibility with stakeholders across teams is very important. Another skill that I think is crucial is communication. You need the ability to communicate well, both in written and verbal form. Of course, you need to have the ability to translate product features and benefits into messaging that resonates with your target customers. But also internal communication I found is very important. And you have to be able to tailor your communication to your audience. For example, you need to be able to speak about business situations and corporate objectives when you're in front of the C-suite or a board of directors. And then you have to shift gears and talk techie when you're talking to product engineers and product management teams. And then when you're in front of a sales and marketing audience, you have to be influential and enthusiastic. So I think once you are able to master the art of tailoring your communication and your style, you can be more effective and meet the needs of the various constituents. I think you need to have analytical skills. Product marketing is both an art and a science, and your ability to use data to make scientific decisions will greatly improve your likelihood of success. So you need the ability to be comfortable with analyzing data and also have the ability to define the data points that you need to inform your decisions. Yeah, organization is the big key. Product marketers tend to carry a heavy workload. You have long-term projects, short-term projects, one-off requests. So to stay afloat, you have to organize and prioritize your work accordingly so that you don't lose track of meeting those high-level KPIs. Something that was helpful for me is when I realized that the nature of the job is not always to agree or fulfill every single request. Generally speaking, product marketers, we enjoy being a resource. We want to help our counterparts, but you're there to accelerate growth in a big way. So that means you're there to challenge the status quo, to play devil's advocate, to be a little bit disruptive. So sometimes that means there may be friction. So just keep in mind that to not take potential situations so seriously, because the nature of the job is to shake things up and have an impact on growth. So just, kind of have fun with that.
What skills or experience do you believe were crucial in advancing your career to a VP level position?
A skill that enabled me to advance to a VP level was the ability to lead a team and to establish go-to-market procedures and launch procedures from scratch. At the ability to be able to define what product marketing should look like, identify the talent that needed to join the team, and the ability to work with leaders to better meet their needs and present how I was able to help move the needle. Required me to call on my skills from previous companies and my training in various product marketing frameworks. And once you're able to build a product marketing team and standardize procedures, you expand your confidence as a product marketer. You gain visibility to the C-suite and have a better visibility into the business challenges, and can then use that visibility to drive growth at the company and better present yourself as a stronger team player.
You mentioned one of the main responsibilities in the director or VP level of product marketing is establishing product marketing functions. I've seen a lot of product marketers coming from an adjacent field like growth marketing or maybe even sales engineering. Do you have any helpful tips for spotting and nurturing product marketing talents?
Lots of people in other departments have the skills needed to be in product marketing. So when I'm looking for product marketing hires, I look for people that are curious. You have to be, into research and digging into situations to uncover data and opportunities for growth. I look for people that are team players that like collaboration because you're in the center of everything and you have to build relationships. So people that like a mix of both analytical heads down work, but also like being in the middle of discussions. Look for people that are optimistic, self-motivated, driven, and that have a passion for making a positive impact on companies. And also those that are, decisive and are able to see the big picture. Because as a product marketer, you're there to drive growth in a big way. So people that can step away from the day to day and have a vision and a strategy and tactics on how to get there. And if you do identify someone that has that skill set and that potential to transition to product marketing, encourage them to get involved, to ask them if they want to help support a project, provide them with the framework on something and see how they execute.
What about the other side? Do you have any helpful tips for aspiring product marketers who are looking to make the transition?
Yeah, for someone who's inspiring, seek out product marketers at your company if they're there and ask them what it's like. Ask them about their projects and if there's anything that you can help with. Uh, Take a course on the fundamentals. There are lots of courses out there online, and many of those courses are free. Those courses can really give you an understanding of the foundations of what the role requires and what it entails. Network. Get involved with product marketing associations like PMM Hive. Reach out to folks on LinkedIn that are working in the industry or the company that you would like to work at as a product marketer. And there are also local groups that have conferences and meetups, and that's a great way to learn more about product marketing and what the career entails.
In your opinion, what are the common mistakes that can stall a product marketer's career? And what advice would you give to avoid or address these issues?
Yeah, I'm sure I've stepped on a few landmines throughout my career. And two of the biggest mistakes that come to mind are number one is not being able to build credibility. When you come into an organization, people may challenge you, especially those that have been there for a while or are in other departments that have been doing product marketing. So your ability to display confidence and establish yourself as a trustworthy team player is key, and you want to be able to establish that right out the gate. And some ways to do that are, present yourself as a resource, and if possible, when you're new, identify something quick that you can do to demonstrate your value. I'll give you an example. At a past company, I dug into the company's CRM data in Salesforce and provided the sales leader with the win-loss analysis over the past 2 years and gave him some recommendations. And it was not a normal practice at the company to do win-loss analysis over that broad time frame. And there were insights that were very eye-opening, and that got our relationship off to a great start. Another way to build credibility is to properly set expectations with your stakeholders. I think this is super critical. You want to be cautious. You don't want to overcommit. And I always recommend under promising and over delivering. If you think you can get something done by Friday, tell people you're going to take a few more days, give yourself that cushion so that you don't put yourself in a unnecessarily stressful situation. And if you're at risk of not meeting deadlines and you're not able to deliver on what you promised within the appropriate time frame, just be transparent about it and follow up. Another pitfall that comes to mind is super critical is not being able to prioritize your work. You have to be organized as a product marketer, and you'll have a busy year. And at the end, you want to be able to quantify your results and demonstrate your value. And this is really important, specifically at companies where product marketers get a lot of requests. So you have to be careful and not lose sight of those high level objectives, those KPIs that you need to meet. So periodically, evaluate what's on your plate and focus on those initiatives that are going to get you to that finish line, that revenue target the fastest. And if you're not sure, just check in with your manager for validation. Share the initiatives that you're focused on and ask them if that mix of projects looks right.
What is your vision for the future of product marketing? How do you see it evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think the future of the profession is bright. There's lots of potential, especially in the B2B space. The buying processes on the B2B side are becoming more complex. So product marketers are needed to make sure that product messaging is differentiated and that the buyers have the content they need to make decisions and the customer experience is streamlined. So definitely on the B2B side, I think we'll see a growing number of companies hiring product marketers. I recently stumbled upon a study written by McKinsey, and they stated that companies that hire product marketers were higher performing. So I'm hopeful that the field will continue to expand and companies will understand that investing in product marketing is a smart investment.
This is great.
Yeah, yeah. One last thought is that related to AI, I think that more and more marketers are becoming more data driven, and the implementation of AI, I think, is promising as well. And we'll be able to take advantage of the insights we gain from AI to improve the precision of what we do.
Any final thoughts?
If you're currently in product marketing, keep up the great work. Know that the work you do is making an impact, whether it's recognized or not, because so much of what we do is behind the scenes. If you're interested in product marketing, I highly recommend it. It's an exciting career, lots of potential, and can be very fulfilling. And so many resources are out there now where you to learn about the field. So just jump right in, get involved with associations. And I have found that the product marketing community to be very supportive over the years and have made some great connections.
Thank you. This is great.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me to the podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. Check out our website, productmarketinghive.com, to join our community, meet fellow product marketers, and access free resources. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. See you next time.